Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. Mikel Arteta and Arsenal back in crisis. Arsenal out t-shirts will be worn for the summer. And I think you've got to look at it and say that I think the sacking of Arteta is inevitable. I think Arteta will end up being another statistic of failure at Arsenal Football Club. Watching that game last night, I did a video a couple of weeks ago, and typically you'll get Arsenal fans saying, obsessed, this, that and the other. Watch the video or don't watch the video. I'm coming at this from a point of view that I like football. Manchester United's my football club and I defend it, but reality is I watch a lot of football and I look at Arsenal Football Club, and as much as it's banter and as much as it's funny, it's gone beyond that now. Like, you are a big club, you are a top six club, but you're not. And why is that happening and how does that change? Already I can look at next season and say, you're not going to get top four. If you do, get a statue for the manager that does it you, because it's not going to happen. Your big hope this season, and granted, I would say it's still possible because it can happen, despite the fact that it probably won't happen, is you could win the Europa League and you could get Champions League football. But what will happen in the Champions League next year is you will get embarrassed. Man United got embarrassed. We're not ready for it. It's nice to qualify it, but we weren't ready for it. And you will get embarrassed. Your big issue is you can't get into the top four in your country. You've got more chance of winning a Poundland Champions League to get in the Champions League than getting into the top six in your own country, let alone top four. Why is that happening? Why is that acceptable at Arsenal? Now, many fans, because football's fickle, football changes, opinions change, and patience doesn't exist. So the next logical thing for Arsenal Football Club is direct all the blame on Arteta, sack him, bring somebody else in. Preserve the name of Arsenal, preserve the structure, preserve the board, and preserve the money that they don't want to spend. And we see it at Manchester United, and we definitely see it at Arsenal, who've basically become, I hate to say this because United have got lots of issues, you've become the Poundland Manchester United, where we can't win a title because we're not run properly. You can't get in the top 8. So that is a big issue for Arsenal. And look, I'm not bantering you. People will probably be laughing. I'm not. I'm saying that you can't get in the top 8, which is ridiculous for a club like Arsenal. But the point is, look at your performances. Look at your last 2 performances. And unfortunately, what I'm seeing with Arteta, and this is why I think he will be sacked, is that I think he's been set up to fail. When you asked me about this at Christmas, I would have said, you know what, Arteta, he's doing a good job in very difficult circumstances. He's certainly got 2 arms tied behind his back. He's inherited a lazy, expensive squad. He's got some good young players coming through, but it's not enough. He needs about 200 million straight away to be spent on that squad, and Deadwood needs to be removed. And while some good things have been done around the Ozil issue, look at the issue of Aubameyang. Look at the issue of Leno. These are players within the Arsenal fan base that they adore, that they won't have a bad word said about them. And yet, I feel that every time I watch Arsenal, Leno should do a little bit better. And every time I watch Arsenal, Aubameyang he's got vanishing cream all over him. He disappears. That first 10 minutes against Liverpool the other night, I was like, oh my God, he's terrible. And he ends up getting subbed as captain. He's your biggest earner, he's your best player, and he's nowhere near engaged good enough. You think about Bruno with United, you think about De Bruyne with Man City, Salah with Liverpool. They can have bad games, but they'll still find a way of contributing. Aubameyang is not contributing any more than the youngster that you've got coming in Saka. But the problem I think Arteta has is that the team is now starting to turn. And this is the problem. You can defend a manager. You can say, look, I think if Arteta was in charge of Manchester United, we'd play a different style of football. Probably more pleasing on the eye. I think tactically he's a good coach. I don't think that makes him better than Solskjaer. I just think he's a different type of coach. But he's not at Manchester United. He's at Arsenal. And I think Solskjaer would struggle at Arsenal as much as Arteta does. I think that most managers would struggle at Arsenal because it needs a massive, massive overhaul. It needs huge support from the board. And I don't know whether the board have got the funds to do that. We mentioned the debt of Arsenal before. And the problem is, Arsenal's huge problem is that they're nowhere near Manchester City, Liverpool, Manchester United and Chelsea at the moment in relation to finance and squad and, projected future. But that's the top 4 gone. They're also not as financially strong as an Everton or a Leicester at the moment, and they haven't got squads that are much better than that either. That's the top 6 gone. So suddenly Arsenal are like, shit, how do we get in the top 6? But bringing it back to Arteta, what I'm seeing with Arsenal now is 3-0 down to West Ham, they come back and they get a good point. 3-0 down to Liverpool, they lose the game. They are dropping their heads when they go 1-0 down. I thought against Liverpool it was unbelievable how you played. You played to hit them on the break, you played defensive, and it was a matter of time until Liverpool scored. But then when Liverpool did score, the white flag went up and they concede 2 goals really, really quickly. The players are starting to do what players do. We've seen it at Chelsea, we've seen it at United. There's this sudden realisation that we're not good enough. And now it's time to start the whispers. Now it's the time to start, because footballers are vain. Footballers are about themselves. Why wouldn't they be? If I'm a professional footballer playing for Arsenal, I'm in my mid-20s, I'm playing badly, I'm like, shit, am I going to put my hand up and say I'm shit? Or am I going to start to talk to other players and say, we're playing shit because of the coach. I've got another 10 years. I might want another deal. I might want to stay here. I've got wages. I've got status, etc. And this is what players do. And you can sort of see it creeping in at Arsenal. The inevitability of the end of Arteta is that the players they're getting worse. They're starting to do worse things than they were. I think when I looked at Arsenal before, the results weren't going their way, but you could see that there was progress, there was potential there. I'm now watching them and I'm starting to see the similar things that you saw under Wenger at the end and the similar things that you saw under Emery. The bad results, the bad performances are starting to seep in, and that's a big indicator that these players are starting to throw the coach under the bus. And Arteta will be collateral damage. I think that if you gave Arteta time, 2 or 3 years, and you gave him continued, consistent transfer budgets, he would build you up. But I think he's building you up from a situation that many Arsenal fans and many non-Arsenal fans probably don't realise. I'm not even, I think if I spoke to some Liverpool fans or some United fans and said, could Arsenal be in the top 4 next year? Well, I don't see why not. They are a top 4 club. That's what they are. I think that's bullshit. I think that's absolute bullshit. I think even if you want to change the manager, but I think Arteta can do it. Even if you had the right manager and you had 150 million to spend this summer and next summer, I still think you are minimum of 2 seasons away from being a top 4 side. Now, 2 years is a long time in football. No football fan wants to wait 2 years. And no football fan wants to hear that. And no football fan of a big club wants to hear, I've got to wait 2 years to get in the top 4. Because the top 4 is nice, but as a big club, you're like, yeah, fuck off. You want top 4, but when you get it, you're like, yeah, we should be doing better than that. Well, Arsenal, for me, are 2 years away from that. The structure of the club is not good. It needs money, it needs better players, and it's still got players there that are on big money that are not good enough. I personally don't think Lacazette's good enough. I worry about Aubameyang. I think he's a great player, but what's going on there? Pepe, look, to be fair, Pepe would be doing that job for Everton. He wouldn't be their star player. He'd be in and out the team. He'd score a good goal every now and then. Arsenal crave consistency. They crave consistency in their coach. They crave consistency in the approach of their board, in investment, and they desperately crave consistency in their players. Their players really lack consistency, and that is why Arsenal are very inconsistent. But I do think, and I say it sadly, I do think this is the beginning of the end, because I can sit here and say this ain't on Arteta. Anybody's set up to fail there. It's a horrible, horrible job, and it's going to take time, and football doesn't have time anymore. Fans are not patient, and I think Arsenal are going to throw themselves into this ever-decreasing circle of dropping down and down and down. 8th last year, you're not doing any better than 8th this year. You are consistently nowhere near where you need to be. You bring a new manager in, there's a little bit of a bounce, it's going to work fine, and then what happens is, after the bounce of a new manager, reality sets in. Squad's not good enough, board's not backing you enough, and we're too far away. We need to be consistent, and we need to take our time. But as we said, in football, what happens is players start to turn on the manager because they don't want to take the blame themselves. They're very vain people, some of these players, and they'll be looking at it and going, I'm playing badly because of the manager. Time to turn on him, and the results will turn. And also, if Arsenal do not win the Europa League, and I say this as a United fan, we've got as much chance as winning the Europa League as Arsenal. Some might disagree with that, but I think it's true. Do I think Man United are going to win the Europa League? I think they can. But I think we're 5 games away from doing that. And a lot of things can go wrong. I'm glad we've got top 4 in our back pocket, because if we were relying on winning the Europa League to get in the Champions League, I'd be very worried, because a lot of things can go wrong. For Arsenal, it's Europa League or bust. And I say bust in many ways. Arteta probably gets the sack. Arsenal lose loads of money, and you finish the season not in Europe next season, in mid-table. That is catastrophic for Arsenal on many ways. if Arteta wins the Europa League, he ain't getting the sack. It's Europa League or bust for Arsenal and Arteta as it stands. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash the like on the video. I'd love to see your comments, and I'll speak to you soon.